The 15-Point Plan is part of the Win Make Give podcast network.
Welcome to the 15-Point Plan podcast. Chad Himes here, joined by the sunny Jillene Snell. Jillene, how are you doing today?
Well, I feel sunny inside, but it's not sunny outside. It's actually going to snow today.
There is talk of snow today, or at least the day that we record this. Also, the groundhog, this makes no sense to me, Jillene,
Okay.
saw his shadow, which meant the sun came out,
Yes.
and now he says there's 6 more weeks of winter. So because the sun came out, he says there's more winter. Makes no sense.
Is there a way we can just make this groundhog disappear?
Oh, there's plenty of ways. Just go watch Bill Murray attempt it in a classic movie, Groundhog Day. Yet we're talking about the weather. We're talking about the sun. Why? Because that is today's topic. As we're here in Influence, we're going to talk about how the weather can or does not influence us, whether we want it to or not.
Right. Influence our moods, the way we feel, and maybe in ways that we didn't even realize. And Chad, you're driving this one, so I'm excited to hear some of the science behind it. We live in a place here in Northwest Washington where we experience all seasons.
Oh, yeah.
All seasons and more. We get all 8 seasons or whatever it is, which
Okay.
feels like one season of rain, doesn't it? Which is the whole year.
Yes.
But we experience a lot of weather. And yet, if you're in other areas, there's some changes that are happening with weather that are maybe more felt than seen. So we get to talk about some of those today and how they might impact you.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of living in Atlanta for a while. Also, Jillene, they experience all 4 seasons in the same day sometimes.
Sure.
Yeah, so we know wherever you are in the country, heck, wherever you are in the world listening to 15-Point Plan, the weather shows up and it can impact our mood. First, we looked at it and we want to make sure it does it, right? We think it does, so does it? We did a little research into this and found out that there have been studies all the way back in the 70s and the 80s where they started to study this stuff. In 1984, Jillene, 1984. So I think that was before you?
I was 1 year old.
I now hate you more.
12
Okay.
months.
So in 1984, a study looking at a variety of mood variables from anxiety and depression to optimism, aggression, showed up due to amounts of sunshine, precipitation, temperature, wind, humidity, barometric pressure. I mean, all of the weather things. What they found was that the amount of sunshine, the temperatures, levels, and humidity were the ones that had the greatest effect on mood. Wouldn't surprise you probably, right?
Not at all.
Okay. It showed that high humidity lowered concentration and increased sleepiness. It was the most impactful thing that the weather did, according to this study back in 1984. They didn't have all the amazing techniques we have now to do research yet. Just think about it. When there's that high humidity, the air feels heavy. That led us to an increased sleepiness level. Then in 2005, another study came along that said spending more time outdoor in pleasant weather is associated with a higher mood. Duh. Get outside.
It's like stating the obvious.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. I
People
don't
smile at you. They wave a little more. They roll down their windows. Yeah.
I don't give a lot of credit to that study that came along. And in 2008, they flipped the coin the other way and said that weather had essentially no effect on positive mood at all. They said it couldn't make your mood better. They did say, though, that it could impact your mood in certain ways. So we're going to dive into some of that. And Jillene, let's start right here at the beginning with why weather affects our mood. Okay, so a study done way back before you, Jillene. This is BJ, before Jillene, right?
Okay.
A study done back in 1979 noted that good weather could affect mood through association. What they actually meant is that good weather makes you think of things like being at the pool, swimming, picnics, and other outings. What other things come to mind, Jillene, just for you in your memory with good weather? What triggers for you? Nothing. Jillene has no good memories that come with good weather. Playing in the park as a child. I don't know, playing with friends. Good weather to me was a wonderful opportunity to actually get outside, living somewhere in Toronto, which didn't always have great weather as well. Cloudy days, on the other hand, Jillene, are associated with canceled plans, annoyance that would come along with rain and with snow.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody who doesn't live in a snowy climate thinks snow is awesome. People who live in snow weather, they do not think that. They know
Agreed,
better.
right? It's not a novelty to them.
No.
I think of being housebound, and your house it can become your sort of your jail cell, or it can
Yes.
become your sanctuary. And I think that's why I love the industry that I'm in real estate, is we get to help people who are more housebound because of weather have the house that they really want,
Yes.
because they're going to be, behind closed doors a little bit more.
You will be. And that's where mood really came in. A lot of the studies that were being done just said association, right? I can think of great memories of going to the baseball game with my dad. Well, that's sunshiny days. That's nice weather. I can think of days where we were trapped inside because the snow came and school was never canceled in the north, but school, and we had to deal with the snow. It brought on negative memories.
So there's this abbreviation, Chad. It's called SAD.
Yeah, sad.
Sad.
Perfectly
Right.
named.
We just spell it out.
Yep.
Seasonal affective disorder.
Yes.
Is it real?
It is real, Jillene. Okay. So seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that comes and goes with seasons. Has been proven and is estimated that 10 to 20% of cases of recurrent depression follow seasonal patterns. So stop for a second, folks, and think. If you're the kind of person that experiences some sort of depression, does it come at a certain time of year or in a regular season? Right? I have a friend who she calls it the fall wall. And she knows that when the clock change is coming in the winter, that depression is going to set in. She knows it's coming, can anticipate it's coming. And what we know is that SAD, the seasonal affective disorder, usually starts in the fall and goes through the winter time. Why, Jillene? What happens during those months? We don't see the sun as much, right? Think about time, especially up here where we are. Again, days get short in the winter.
Very short, right? It's dark at 4 and it's light at 7:30 or 8 a.m.
You can be in the office before the sun really comes up, and you can be gone, or you can be leaving the office and the sun has already gone down. And if you don't have a good window in your office, you go days without seeing it.
Right. I think the issue is we go into the season change and the seasonality, and we don't come into it arming ourselves with the right tools and the right preventatives. And we only think about those things once it's actually set in, once we have SAD.
Yeah.
And so I think, to me, the key point is knowing when it's coming for the area that I live, and then preparing those preventative measures. Maybe it's more, IUs of vitamin D, whatever it is that we need.
And we will finish this episode with giving you some tips on how to overcome the weather or deal with the weather. As you said, Jillene, we live up here in the Pacific Northwest where it rains every day.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it doesn't, we're telling everybody it does so that they don't move here, right? It rains every day, folks.
We're running out of space here.
That's right. And because of it, our state leads the nation in depression because of the weather and what is caused up here.
Our state is definitely a good case study for this.
Oh, yes. Okay, so how do you deal with SAD, seasonal affective disorder? Jillene, what's one of the preferred treatments that everybody should consider?
I think it's light therapy is one of them. And there's so many simple ways to do light therapy. You can go to an establishment that offers it.
Yep.
And maybe you can talk to us about the different types of light therapy that are best. We can get the right type of bulbs for our homes and our offices.
Yep.
I think offices, it's a default for us, and we don't necessarily think about changing it because it's built into the package of our office.
Yes.
But actually, I asked our office management to, unscrew my light bulbs, my fluorescent light bulbs, so that I could have the option of the type of lighting I wanted to put in.
Excellent.
It just took some effort to do that, right, for that light therapy. But now I don't have those fluorescents, and I noticed it doesn't trigger my light sensitivity and my migraine-induced vertigos as much now.
Maybe
So
we'll
I
have
saw
to
a
have
big
Dave
change.
take the fluorescence out of the podcast studio and replace them with like a black light. I think that would kind of make a cool mood while we recorded.
Yeah, that would actually. It'd be more of a party, right?
Sure, we'd have some fun while you're here. All right. So, as I mentioned, shorter days come in the winter. And Jillene, we've talked about this in sleep. We've talked about this in other areas, that our body works on a circadian rhythm, right? We are programmed to feel alert when the sun is up and drowsy when it goes down. That's how the body is built. So during the winter months, when days become short, like you were mentioning that you can get into the office before the sun's up and it can be gone before you get out of the office, right? That's going to mess with our circadian rhythm because we're not going to get that sun in there. A lack of sunlight prompts us to produce melatonin, which is the hormone that causes
us to sleep.
Sleep.
Right.
Absolutely. Exactly. Right. So not getting the sunlight, our body thinks, oh, we should be going to bed. So that'll often explain why you might feel drowsy at work when you still have things to go on and get done, which then leads to frustration, leads to irritability, leads to more negative influence that the weather is having upon us because of what we're doing, right? Serotonin also is produced less than it should be because of this, and that helps regulate mood, appetite, and again, sleep. So it can make a very difficult case for well-being in those shortened days. You mentioned this earlier. The number one thing to help us combat depression is to make sure we have adequate levels of...
It's vitamin D.
Yeah. And where does it come from?
Well, it comes from, I mean, you can buy it at the store, of course, in a supplement. However, the sunshine is by far the best way to get your vitamin D intake. And I follow a biohacker I've mentioned before out of Vancouver Island, Dave Asprey, and he talks a lot about vitamin D. It's the supplement he talks about the most.
Yep.
And we're in an area, of course, that doesn't have as much sunshine. And either out of every type of vitamin and supplement and health product you can buy, that is literally at the top of his list. And I think we underestimate its value, especially straight from the sun, that direct source. And what he talks about is that you have to expose your skin. You have to take off a layer, wear a t-shirt or wear some shorts, even if it's a little cold out, because you only need to be out there for 10, 15, 20 minutes, before 10 a.m. or after 4 to get the amount of sunlight that your body needs for the vitamin D.
Absolutely. It's why when we did supplements, vitamin D was one of the only supplements we featured. We didn't really get into every possible supplement. We talked about the micro and the macro, but vitamin D, we did a whole episode about for anyone who wants to go back and check it out. Research was done by Canadian researchers, those Canadians, right? They did multiple studies with over 30,000 people in it and demonstrated a correlation between depression and lack of vitamin D. So low vitamin D leads to depression, right? It was simple and easy like that. And you talked about already making sure we are getting it.
I think this is a really good time to stop and say, hey, instead of diving straight into like SSRIs, that we look at our supplement intake first or how often we're getting outside during the day. Because even if you live in a sunny place like Florida, which sounds wonderful, by the way, or Arizona, you think they get unlimited amounts of sunshine. Mm-hmm. Yet, if you work in an office or an indoor space, you might be getting less than you think, even if you're in a sunny location. Bless you, and enjoy that sunshine.
We were just discussing Las Vegas before we started recording this and talking about how you could be in one of those casinos for days and not see the sun, right? So you go on one of your vacations, you might go 3 or 4 days without really getting out into the sun because you sleep during the day and you're in the casino when you're not.
So you're going to come out of that casino extra depressed because you lost all your money and you were missing out on the vitamin D from sunshine.
Excellent. Yes, another thing about Vegas to remember. Okay, so Jillene, have you ever heard the song that says, rainy days and Mondays always get me down?
No, can you sing it to me?
No, I will not sing to you. We leave that to Ben over on the Win Make Give podcast for any singing that's going to go on. The Carpenters, Rainy Days and Mondays, obviously, again, another band before Jillene's time, as Dave knew exactly who it was and probably has a song in his head right now, being our music guy around here. Here's the thing. Mondays are awesome. I think Mondays are great. Yet rainy days will get you down. It's not your imagination that rainy days get you down. They say that nearly 9% of people fall into a category called rain haters, which means they actually feel angrier and just overall less happy on days with excessive rain. And another study found that rain increased the number of negative posts on Facebook.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Rain would come and people would go bitch on Facebook about something. It might not be the rain, but they'd bitch about something.
We're all going to go take notice of this now, right?
I'm wondering if we can see what the weather patterns are around the country by who's posting negative stuff on Facebook. We'll have to see. All right,
and then we'll send them this podcast so that they can turn that around.
There you go. Okay, so Jillene, what's something we can do when the rain comes?
We can crawl into bed and cover our face.
Okay, we might want to do that. Yeah, Jillene, what maybe we should do instead?
Well, I think make the choice to turn on the lights.
Okay.
So you have lights in your home, especially the type of lights that can bring you happiness, right?
Yep.
Literally. And research the best type of lights for that you can put in your own home, because that will boost the serotonin levels and elevate the mood.
So when it gets dark from the rain, turn on the lights in the house is what you're telling us.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Just walk outside, go outside even if it's cold. I buy a very weather-resistant jacket where I'm not going to feel miserable outside because it's meant for sub-zero temperatures. And sometimes I look silly because I wear it at 45 or 50 degrees. But that's okay because it's getting me outside.
Yep.
And still getting that exposure to some UV rays, which can help our body's circadian rhythm and of course, boost that mood.
Yeah, just like you had said before, get outside even if it's 10 or 15 minutes. Even if you got to bundle up some, expose what you can and get out there and enjoy that rain and get moving, because that'll help you survive the rainstorm. Okay, rain and pain. So, Jillene, we were talking about this one a little bit. You were all geeking out on us when we were talking about this before the podcast, because atmospheric pressure in the nerves and joints caused by a shift in bodily fluid responds to the environmental pressures, right? Which will then cause aches, lack of mobility, which leads to lack of motivation to want to exercise, which just increases depression, and the cycle goes on and on and on. And as soon as I mentioned that, you picked up your phone, and one of the things you discovered in the app for weather was?
It shows you the barometric pressure in your app. At least this is on Apple. And
is there anything else other than Apple? I mean, are there people actually using things that's not Apple for some reason?
It'll tell you if there's high pressure or low pressure. And a lot of studies show that, of course, like have you heard this phrase, like, you can feel the storm coming?
Yep.
So, and I think people actually, some of my friends will say, especially if they have arthritis, that they can feel that storm coming.
Correct. Because
of the low pressure that's coming in. Studies show that it does affect, it affects your joint pain, and especially if you have arthritis. But I don't have arthritis, and I can feel the effects of low pressure. One of those effects is headaches.
Yes.
It could be headaches, migraines. It can affect your blood sugar, your blood pressure.
And that brings your mood down.
Right.
Not by choice, because the weather is influencing us.
Right. And Chad, I follow the 15-point plan and use that every day. And I keep my energy levels pretty high, right?
Yep.
And I know, like, hey, if I'm at the peak of using this plan and yet it's Tuesday and I'm feeling really low energy, my body doesn't want to move, and feeling that moodiness, oftentimes it is because of low pressure.
Yep.
Sometimes you can pick up your phone and just say, okay, well, I'll give myself a little bit of grace today and understanding why this is happening to me.
That's smart. Very smart. And folks, if you want to be following the 15-point plan, not just for Jillene and I talking about it, listening on the podcast, yet you want to actually use the tracker, go to 15pointplan.com, where you can download the 15-point plan tracker. And if you want some accountability behind it, join our Facebook group, 15-Point Plan for Life, where people come in and post their 15-point plan results every single day and help keep each other accountable to hitting as many points as possible to keep you moving. So, Jillene, let's wrap this up with 4 things that we can do. Maybe we'll throw in a fifth, a bonus one. Things we can do to deal with the weather, because we know it's going to influence us. So you were just kind of talking about number 1, that is?
Just knowing and tracking the upcoming weather. I mean, ironically, it's all over the news, right?
You still watch the news?
I don't watch the
Okay.
news. I just know other people do. So they're probably going to see what's coming.
The question is, will Jillene watch Sesame Street or the news first? We'll
I
have a follow-up episode on that.
We will.
Okay, so knowing the weather. So like you're saying, checking that weather app maybe once or twice a day, seeing what's coming, being able to prepare for it. All right, here's number 2. How about optimizing your home, right? What about tracking humidity in your house? What about tracking the temperature and the airflow around your house? Getting something like a Nest, the programmable thermostat, which gives you a lot of that information, lets you know what's going on in your house. Monitor those conditions so you can make adjustments inside to combat what's going on outside. Okay, which leads us, Jillene, to point number 3 of what we can do.
You just talked about that it's temperature and humidity. So just monitoring our bedrooms and living areas to ensure that they're at that optimal temperature and humidity to promote this healthy sleep and making everyone in the household comfortable.
It's funny, around our house, we keep it very cold, which is what keeps Nita and I comfortable. And then my mother comes and visits, and she's very uncomfortable living in Florida, that when she
Right.
comes, she's wearing like 17 layers while in the house.
Yes, I wear my Sub-Zero jacket when I'm at your place.
Yeah, you should.
Mm-hmm.
We like to keep it cold. All right, number 4, Jillene. What's number 4 on our what we can do? Let's give them one more here.
Oh, to use full spectrum lighting.
Yeah,
So,
you talked about that a lot already. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit more here.
well, it becomes more important as the days get shorter and we spend more time indoors. So replacing our lamps and our light bulbs that include a full range of light wavelengths can help us offset the effects of those shortened days.
Okay.
You know, there's so much, you can even plug this into Amazon for happy lights and happy lamps and bulbs, and so much comes up. I think it's necessary to do the research on what's best for you because that can also help you sleep better at night. You know, it's the right type of light and help that mood. There's so much behind lights, and there's really we could do another episode on that.
On those lights?
The type of lights that should be in your home and your office.
All right.
They're that impactful to us, especially when we spend that much time at home, some of us working from home.
Oh, yeah. I love my hue lights. I can change them from one mood to another mood throughout the day, and they can help me as it's time to get tired. The last thing we'll leave you with, folks, for what you can do to combat the weather influence or take advantage of the weather influence in your world is when it's good weather, go outside, right? It sounds obvious. It sounds ridiculous. You've heard it before. Go take a short walk. Go sit on the porch for an hour and drink your coffee outside there instead, because that sun will have a massive effect upon your mood. You want to listen to the 15-point plan? Jillene and I say, put it on your phone, listen to the podcast while you're outdoors walking. Get a little exercise in you, get out when you can. Take advantage of the weather. It's going to influence you one way or another. And the whole thing that we want you to realize as we go through this influence section is you get to decide which way it will influence your life. We hope this episode ups your energy and takes you to the next level.